Get attitude means, how can I proactively change the way I think? How can I proactively increase my life? How can I proactively create better relationships and better work situations for me to enjoy it?
And welcome to the GAP, the Get Attitude Podcast, The Gap, bridging the gap from who you are to who you want to become and from where you are to where you want to be. Hello, my name is Glenn Bill, founder of the University of Attitude, keynote speaker, and author of the international best-selling book, The ABCs of Attitude. You know, I've been fortunate to help tens of thousands of people all across this country get attitude. Attitude is the secret formula for success in your business and in your life. And this podcast will help you get yours. So, let's get some. All right, guys, you are not going to believe who I have here today. We are focused on Attitude Booster number 9, and we are kicking off Attitude Booster number 9, which is Eat Right and Exercise, with a very, very inspirational man, a friend to me. If you are somebody that is standing at the front of the bridge and you're about 20 pounds overweight, and every morning you wake up and say, I'm going to exercise, and then you talk yourself out of it, I got the fitness preacher coming to speak to you. And look, at eating right and exercise is probably the most important one of these 10 attitude boosters, because it's how we create energy, and it's how we create a lot more stuff that our special guest is going to talk to us about. But I know that my people out there, my gappers out there, I know you, because look, I'm one of you. COVID hit. I started doing a bunch of work. My gym closed, and all of a sudden, my ass is up 8 pounds, and my motivation is down. And the good Lord said, you know what, Glenn, you might want to call on the fitness preacher, Nisan Trotter, to come check it out. So what we're going to do, first of all, is remind you, if you like what you're hearing and you like this podcast, please share it with all your friends. Please subscribe on your platform, rate it, and review it. And now I'm going to introduce my friend. Today we are here with the author of Born Gifted, which is an incredible book. I got to read some of it, and he's going to talk to us. The owner of Trot Fitness and a national keynote speaker. And Jason, let's go ahead and give them a little piece of Nissan before we bring him up.
One coach can help you be a champion. Just one. Everybody say just one. Just one. One day, I'm a witness, can change your life forever.
All right. I want to welcome my good friend Nisan Trotter. Nisan, welcome to the Get Attitude Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on with you. What an introduction.
All right. And you know what? Just one podcast can change your life.
Let's make this be the one, Glenn. Absolutely.
I love it. Let's make this be the one. Now, we are here to talk about Attitude Booster number 9. We have been through 8 Attitude Boosters, 4 shows each, which means we've had 32 different guests. And now you're going to be opening up Attitude Booster number 9 on Eat Right and Exercise. Why don't you just give our gappers a little bit of your history, if you'd like. And when you think about eating right and exercising, what does that mean to you, and what should it mean to our gappers as we're trying to bridge the gap?
No question. Well, I'm from a small little place called Silver Hill, Alabama. I'm sure your listening or viewing audience has never heard of that place before. It's deeply embedded in the deep South. It's sandwiched in between Mobile, Alabama, and Pensacola, Florida.
Wow.
And it's a rural area. I absolutely love the place where I'm from. And growing up with my family, soul food was the name of the game, Glenn. Fried chicken, collard greens, black eyed peas, cornbread, you name it. And also being underprivileged, fast food as well. So I grew up with a lot of poor eating habits.
Yes.
And I'm very thankful that what I've eaten over the course of time, my body doesn't reflect. But I will say that when I made the transition from the South to the North, and I went to school at Bucknell University, thankfully God blessed me with some wits and then also some athletic ability. I earned a full scholarship to play football for a junior Ivy League school called Bucknell University.
Sure.
In central Pennsylvania. Yeah. And from there, I've never really looked back in terms of my growth personally. And then also when I decided to leap into fitness full time as a fitness entrepreneur, now going on 10 years, it was a great move in my life.
And so talk to me a little bit about Trot Fitness. Obviously, your mission, what you're doing at Trot Fitness is fitting right into what I'm saying. Talk to me about Trot Fitness. How did it get started? How can people check you out? I know you got online stuff for people if they want to come and have you as a virtual coach. Talk to us about your business and your entrepreneurial side.
Absolutely. I appreciate the question. Trot Fitness was really birthed out of a vision that I had to one day be a business owner. And thankfully, I partnered with my wife, who she had the foresight and even the vision before I ever knew it to be. She purchased a bunch of expensive personal training material, unbeknownst to me, sat it on my lap one day and said, "You need to become a personal trainer." And I was like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Now, she was known as the Zumba queen in the area at the time. She had this massive following because she's Puerto Rican, Boricua. She knows how to dance. And my experience did not parallel to hers because after I finished at Bucknell, I would be the classic meathead that threw in the earbuds, went to the gym, did my own thing, and came back disgruntled.
Yeah.
You know, but my wife would always rave about her experience with her tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And so once she purchased personal training material, sat it on my lap, I then took the leap of faith and said, you know what, this is a great move. I'm gonna dig deeper there within. And so how Trot Fitness came to be is I wanted to sort of do the, I guess, electric slide slowly into the fitness arena by going to be a personal trainer at a box gym first.
Right.
Behold, the box gym never returned my phone calls. They never responded to my resume, which had great credentials and accolades, if you will. I made it look nice and pretty, but I never got a phone call back. So I thank God for that closed door, Glenn, because it made me bulldoze there it is, the door down to our own fitness enterprise. And so we started in a public park.
Wow.
Yeah, we started in a public park and there were 2 clients to my name. And now going on 10 years, we've literally dealt with multiple thousands of clients in the central Susquehanna Valley. I won the Fitness Business Summit Personal Trainer of the Year Award in 2015. We have a staff of 7 or 8 now, and we're loving what we do. So if the folks are looking for a transformation like none other, you can especially work with us even virtually online. All you got to do is go to www.trotfitness.com, www.trotfitness.com. Just put in your contact information in the contact page, and we'll be sure to reach out and help you with your goal.
Now, you also call yourself the fitness preacher, which I love. So preach to us a little bit. Preach to us, all of us overweight, unmotivated people that probably are telling themselves, I'm going to start tomorrow. What can you say right now to kick us in our ass and say, you know what, I need to make a change and it needs to be tomorrow? Give me some.
Absolutely. Well, the stark reality is that most people, unfortunately, get it wrong to begin with trying to thrive off motivation.
Right.
So important, especially when it regards health and fitness on the Western side of the world, to move your motivation into a habit. Mm-hmm. So it would behoove anyone to try to fall in love with the process instead of the end result. It's what our industry terms process goals, not product goals. Mm-hmm. So whenever someone gets started, they're motivated to lose weight. They're motivated to get in a smaller pant size. They're motivated to get off of the pills and the potions. Mm-hmm. But those are product goals. Rarely ever do we hear someone say, I'm motivated to train consistently every day of my life.
Right.
I am just enthralled and thrilled with doing burpees and push-ups and sit-ups until I feel muscle burn and muscle fatigue. I can hardly wait till I get my fitness calendar and mark on the calendar the days of the week that I'm going to train for this month.
Right.
Those are the process goals. So we gotta reverse engineer and start with the process goals that's gonna get us en route to the product that we're looking for.
And you know, I love watching your videos. You do great videos, but you're also a keynote speaker. Nisan and I met at Les Brown together. We just met, and it was like kismet. And then we went and we actually broke bread and had a meal together. And that's how I ended up getting to follow Nisan. And so, talk to us about your keynote speaking business. And what's your favorite keynote to give? What does it hit on? Maybe one or two quick points that you love to communicate when you're on the road in front of the audience.
Absolutely. I appreciate you bringing up our history. And one of the things that motivates me with the keynote arena is people like yourself, Glenn, who have played the long game with this. I'm not going to share the difference in age between the both of us, but you might represent a different generation, been around a little bit longer doing this. And because of that, I've always admired and revered, respected those who play the long game.
Yes.
And so a part of my keynote, to answer your question, stems around your giftedness. I have always had an intrigue and admiration for those who play up a notch. And it seems like I have a third eye because everyone is attracted to awesomeness. I just have found a way to really pay even closer attention to what makes people great. Right. It can be from Michael Phelps and his ability to swim super fast in water to Maya Angelou and her penmanship. Two very different people, you know, but you wouldn't have seen Michael Phelps perhaps behind a computer doing computer programming, nor would you see Maya Angelou like a fish in water swimming as fast as Michael Phelps. So those individuals just simply knew what they were good at, and then they just started to drill deep within. So I tried to do my absolute best of making sure that I help people find what they're good at, perhaps second to none in, and take it from number one, believing that you're gifted, because we got to start there, to then discovering exactly what that gift is. That's step number two. And then phase three is taking that gift to superstar status.
I love it. And then you had talked about your adversity advantage in one of your speeches. Talk to me a little bit about what that means, and if there are people on the other, or they're walking on the beach or they're driving in their car, talk to us about how to leverage adversity and how you see that adversity advantage playing out.
Yeah, I believe we've all been through a level of adversity. The difference is that there are a number of people who might not know how to leverage that adversity to their advantage. And for instance, for me, I was really mocked at and picked on for the way that my voice sounded as a teenager, even to my middle school years, especially my middle school years, because you know, kids pick at each other, they can be ruthless, etc. And so during the recess time, which was largely known as the most popular time in school, I wanted to be in a fetal position, huddled up in a corner somewhere, because folks were just so good as they mocked me for my voice and the way that I sounded. I had this raspy voice. I stuttered my words often. And so it was a dark period in my life. But sometimes that level of adversity, and even when people critique you and criticize you, if you can kind of study the place that you've been damaged, you might be able to strike gold there. Lo and behold to me at this point in time, now instead of my voice being a voice that's been mocked, I've used it and leveraged it to inspire a generation, and I even get paid to speak. So I would encourage everybody to think about those places in their life. And I talk about it even in my book called Born Gifted. Look at those places in your life where you feel like you've been cut down, where you feel like you've been ridiculed. Why is that the reason? Why is that the case? And when you do some soul searching and you do some deep investigating, Socrates said the unexamined life is a life not worth living. You can just start to take out that critical me time that necessary one-on-one time where it's just you and your tablet and your pen, and you get to work on those areas where you were adversely affected in life, I believe that you can turn the table on that and shift it for your good.
When you talk about the thousands of people you've helped, whether it be in keynote speaking, and again, you can get Born Gifted on Amazon, somebody that read your book or somebody that's been in the gym with you, who you've worked. Tell me maybe one of the most inspiring stories that, you know what, when you worked with somebody, they changed. Who was it? What was their circumstance? And what was that story? And what did you see in them? Like, what did you see? How did they show up? How did they present themselves? And then how did they leave after you were done with them?
I love this question. And immediately what comes to mind is when I work with an individual who needs to lose 200 pounds.
Ooh.
And he came through our doors over 400 pounds.
Oh, my.
And he was naive to the fact that the journey that he was on was going to be a long road. And that worked to his advantage. He didn't know what he didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I think going into a process, we think too hard about it, we think too long about it, and we know too much about the road ahead. So one of the best things you can be is naive.
Right.
And this individual, on probably a week or two of our program, admitted to me that he hadn't ran in 15 years. And even the workout to begin for him, this was his workout, simply getting up and down off the floor.
Wow.
It wore him out, Glenn. I'm talking about profusely sweating. And it didn't look very pretty. I mean, we started at the very basic level for him. And then when he told me, Glenn, I haven't ran in 15 years, I told him, well, we're going to change that today. And what we started with on that day, it was one particular workout. I had him place his hands up against the wall and lean into the wall at a 45-degree angle with his arms locked. And then I instructed him to drive his knees up to my hands as fast as he can as I bent down at his waist side. And so he was driving his knees up super, super fast. And I know he's okay with me mentioning his name because he loves now to be an inspiration and pay it forward. His name is Rodney Robbins. Rodney drove his knees up into my hands as quick as he could, and my hands were at hip height. And I said, Rodney, you're pretty much already running. Now all we got to do is take your arms off of this wall. And there was clients, about 20 of them, zooming around him during the workout as I was working with him one-on-one. And so he pulled his hands off that wall, Glenn, and he went for it. And he broke that spirit of disbelief in him, and he ran after 15 years. And then as he continued to train in our session, he dropped 158 pounds in 9 months.
How about that? Oh, that's beautiful. So if you're out there and it's been 15 years, maybe it's been 15 months, maybe it's been 15 weeks, and you're feeling disbelief and you're feeling like, I don't think I can do it, or you're feeling like I'm comfortable, or you're feeling like it's not going to get any worse, I hope you think about Rodney and get running. What are the benefits that you see when people begin, when they make that shift and they commit, no matter what it is? What I'd be interested in is give us 3 simple things somebody that's listening can do each and every day that will help them eat right and exercise. And in other words, maybe 3 things to eat and 3 simple exercises. I'd like to know what you think the best exercise is too for, I have my thoughts because I do a certain exercise that I'm like, this is an oldie but a goodie, but it's the best. So I know I just asked you 4 questions, but go ahead and try to answer as many of them as you can.
Absolutely. I'll deal with it and I'll face it head on. What I would first say, Glenn, is it doesn't even start with the type of food that you eat or even the exercise regimen that you embrace. We first got to start with the mind and do what I call stack wins. I mean, you're a big attitude guy, right? You can do laps after laps around this singular subject matter alone. And so you'll appreciate this. So when I start my day, I want to start off with the easiest win possible that's going to get me into the habit of winning often. And then once I have momentum, I believe it was the words of Annie Lennox who said, you can be so good at creating momentum, you don't know whether you've created it or it's created you.
Love that. Yeah, that's good.
No question. So here are my wins at the beginning of the day, and you can change these to your liking so that you can stack your wins and gain momentum. If you were a fly on the wall, and my wife knows this because she sees me do this in the morning, and she kind of like rolls her eyes like, here we go again, because it's very habitual in nature. Remember, we don't want to thrive off motivation. We want to thrive off routine and habit. So very much almost subconsciously, I'm doing this without even realizing that I'm doing it, because it doesn't take that much work, and I'm just a creature of habit. So I wake up out of my bed, and I know that I'm winning as soon as I stretch my arms up to the sky and I smile real big. I thank God for waking me up for the day, and then I place my hands on my knees and I shake my head in gratitude, like, thank you, God. Somebody didn't make it today, but I did.
I love it.
It's very easy, and boom, I've already started my first win. Oh, and before that, I never hit snooze on the alarm clock.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I never do that. I think the snooze button is from the devil, Glenn. And so
I love that first exercise. I mean, everybody can reach their arms to the sky and put their hands on their knees and give gratitude right now. I mean, that's power. I'm doing it tomorrow. I'll text you when I'm done.
All right, let me know. Right. Because it's just a win, right? Mentally, I'm already in the habit of winning. So I've already done my 2 wins for the day, and then I have a water bottle that's typically next to me on my nightstand. I reach over and I take a big gulp of water. And when I do those 3 things, I'm subconsciously telling myself I'm winning.
I love it. That's so good.
To do. So then once I get that out of the way, now I'll answer your question in terms of the food to eat and the exercises to do, because like intriguing minds want to know, right? As fitness professionals, we get these type of questions all the time. From the person who will stop me in the grocery store, we have an email list in a small town of roughly about 5,000 people. Our email list is about 4,500 people. So we looking for the last 500, Glenn. But
right.
So they'll stop me in the grocery store and like, hey, I've read your content, and they might grab their flab and shake it up and down their belly, that is, and ask me how to get rid of it. And so let's just start with the exercise piece. One of the biggest myths that need to be debunked is you thinking that a whole lot of crunches is going to help you drop belly fat. It is the number one place in on our body where females and male alike want to lose. So according to Men's Health on Exercise, it takes 22,000 crunches to lose 1 pound of belly fat. Men's Health.
Right.
And so no one really has time for that.
Right.
Use the hood terms, ain't nobody got time for that.
Right.
So the best exercise to drop belly fat is known as compound exercise moves, compound complex exercise moves. So it's the classic burpee, if you've ever heard of that.
Yes.
Which you can modify. It is also known as an intense workout move. It's where all of your body parts are moving in conjunction with each other, because every single movement that you do starts at the core.
Sure.
You don't realize that. So when I do what I consider a burpee, then I am actually using my core and using other muscles in my body to burn fat. The second exercise move that I would consider is what are called mountain climbers. And you can do modifications for the mountain climbers as well. I would mix in some burpees with some mountain climbers, and then I finally do a squat and an overhead press.
Right.
Those 3 moves alone, trust me when I tell you, that's all I need for you to leave my workout profusely sweating. Maybe not even wanting to come back, but I would love for you to.
I think that's good. So my favorite is Jack LaLanne.
Okay, explain that to me.
Do you know who Jack LaLanne was?
I do not.
Jack LaLanne was a fitness preacher 80 years ago. You need to go YouTube Jack. Jack was like 80 years old, and his body was awesome. And you know what he did? Them jumping jacks.
Jumping jacks, the classic jumping jacks.
Oh, I do 100 every morning. And it, boy, it gets the blood going, every muscle, just like you were saying. So I've just found it to be, that's like my super exercise.
And it's a great exercise. It is an exercise. I didn't know that history. I appreciate it. But it is an exercise move that has stood the test of time. And most fitness professionals starting out through our material, our certification process, is still in the books. And we probably do jumping jacks every single workout that we do, at least as a warm-up, if not in the body of the workout.
I love it. All right, so I'm going to just digress a little bit because this is a show about getting attitude. Talk to me about your definition of attitude, or talk to me about how do you know when you see someone with attitude, or what does it mean to you to have attitude, and what is your attitude? Any one of those I'll take.
All right. I'll attempt to answer this question knowing that you're the attitude guy. So I feel like
no wrong answers. No wrong answers.
I'm unfairly favored, but you're unfairly favored, right? But I would say that, I made sure that I not look up the definition of attitude because of knowing that this is your thing. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going based off of what I feel constitutes a solid definition of it.
Cool.
And to me, I feel that attitude by definition should be based upon an individual's belief that dictates his or her temperament.
Interesting.
Belief system that dictates his or her temperament. Because for me, when I think about my belief system, it always starts the wheels churning to the outcomes of what I then see in front of me. So I'll give you again the example that I used from earlier. I was verbally bullied for the way that my voice sounded. Mm-hmm. I could have believed in that, and I assure you that the outcome would not be me speaking in front of you today on a podcast, I assure you. But my belief system was, I'm not going to believe that narrative. I know that they're saying I sound like this, but I'm going to enter into an oratorical speech competition for my school, which I did at the time.
Nice.
And because I thought, due to those around me, talk about attitude coaches at the time, it was my mother.
Sure.
Who believed that I had the gift of gab even before I knew that I did. Mm-hmm. And she hand me these long speeches, the longest ones that she could find. She would drill me in my grandmother's old beat up kitchen because my family of four grew up in the single back bedroom in my grandmother's house. She would place me in front of that white stove with the cast iron top, and she would make sure that I was acting as if I was the next Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. trying to deliver his people from freedom, or our people from freedom. And she would have me go for it. Use your hand gestures. You sound monotone. Give me some voice inflections. Make me believe you. Put yourself in the story. And I'm 6, 7 years old, getting ready to recite this Easter speech in front of the church. And little did I know that was the person who was impacting my attitude. Yes. So although I was getting people in school who was trying to tear down my belief system in myself, my mom was inspiring me. And then that really helped me with my temperament. I feel like I can go with the best of them now.
I have a dream. That's right. My guess is you said that speech a few times.
Well, or didn't say it verbatim, but certainly has some undertones just like it.
I know it. I love it. I love it. So grandma was probably sounds like one of your attitude coaches then.
My grandmother was, but my mom particularly helped me with the speech coaching game. But my grandmother too. My grandmother, no question, because we grew up in her household, Glenn, she hands down is a survivor. The way that she would tell stories largely impacts today the way I tell stories. Mm-hmm. My grandmother, I'm from the deep south of Alabama, so we're not far removed even from slavery and the way things looked back in those days. So my grandmother grew up with Black people having curfews and not being able to go into town at certain times and Jim Crow days, right? And then also she would then share stories with me of my great grandmother, her mother,
Right.
The way that she told those stories definitely impacted my life and gave me a mental resiliency that will forever help me with my attitude.
And what's her name? We should honor her.
Gertrude Mitchell.
Gertrude Mitchell. Now,
Yeah.
can you share with us, as we talked about, I've been doing the 846 interviews on a side thing, and I love hearing the stories of Black America. And if you feel comfortable and fine, I'd love to hear one of your grandma's stories, or an antidote that she taught you, something that is in your nervous system, right? That lives with you forever. Why don't you give us some of Gertrude?
Absolutely. And I do this in all humility. I do believe that people like Martin Luther King Jr., James Baldwin, people who were so eloquent in speech, I do believe that a thread of our DNA and genes represents those who are able to eloquently express themselves and present in a way that's dynamic. So I say this in humility because I'm not able to give these stories as much service as my grandmother could.
Sure.
I feel like I should be moving to the side for her.
Right.
So I will share one. She grew up with her mother and father as a sharecropper. So my great grandfather would go into the chicken coop. For those who know what that is, it's a chicken coop is built in a way where the chickens would go into these holes that were built for them, these squares as well, and then lay their eggs. And so my great grandfather, his responsibility, as told by my grandmother, was to take those eggs and then present it to the owner of the farm as a sharecropper. But they were from very simple means, poor, didn't have a whole lot to eat. So what he would do after milking the cows is he would then go to the chicken coop and place those filthy, dirty, and eggs that were also, quite frankly, if you've ever been to a chicken coop, you know that this is true. The eggs are also covered sometimes in chicken poop. He would take these eggs, he would place them inside the milk so as to hide the portion of milk that was allotted for his kids, my grandmother.
Mercy.
He would take the eggs, hiding them in the milk, and then and my grandmother would watch him do this. He would then, obviously, food was of the essence, so he had to preserve the milk. He would then heat up that nasty, filthy milk that he hid the chicken eggs in.
Right.
And sterilize it so they could still drink it, but then they also had eggs as well because he hid it so that they could have food to eat.
Wow.
And so my grandmother tells me that story in a way to where when you feel like things are getting hard and when you feel like you're running out of resources, there's always a way to be resourceful.
Right. Yeah. It's not about the resources. It's about the resourcefulness. And, the imagery of that story is unreal. And the parallels that one can draw in their life who is listening to this right now. You may have a resource of milk, but you may have something that may be dirty, that may be nasty, but that may be necessary that you need to deal with. And it takes a smart person, but it takes, I don't want to say a desperate person, but somebody who's so loyal to their family to figure out how to feed them. Boy, that is powerful. And it certainly makes me feel, and I'm sure it makes a lot of people feel like, I don't got no problems.
Yeah, and let me tell you something too. The way by which my grandmother tells that story, because of experiencing it and seeing it, it really illuminates it in a way that will give you chill bumps.
Nisan, we're going to wrap up this podcast. You have been great. Thank you for your vulnerability, for your depth, for your wisdom and your insight. I think everybody after this is going to be able to walk away with 3 great exercises to stay in shape, with ideas on creating the correct mindset, with ideas on owning the process, not necessarily the promise when it comes to fitness. And then, the lessons from Grandma Gertrude, that was just so good. So what we're going to do is Knowledge Through the Decades. I'm going to take you through your life and ask you what the attitude lesson was. Now, I know you got 3 little babies because I heard one of them outside your door. What are your children's names?
Onesimus, Osias, and Omarius. We play off the O's.
I love it. I love it. And what's your wife's name?
Jarellis.
All right, Jarellis. All right. Well, my best to all of your family and thank them for giving you to us for this 50 minutes. Okay, so what I want you to do is think about when you were born, or maybe when one of your kids was born. What do you think the attitude lesson is of a newborn or an infant?
The attitude lesson, especially for an infant, for my infant, is progress. Progress. Going back to the principle I taught everyone, process goals versus product goals, because he starts off crawling and now he's walking, now he's running.
Right.
And you don't have to start to be great, but you got to be, what is it? You don't have to be great to start, but you got to start to be great.
There
right?
You go. Right.
And so, yeah, you just got to start the process. That's what I would say at the infant age.
That's good. So progress is the key word for you there, right?
Yep.
And
the willingness to start.
Yeah, the willingness to start and the progress. And some of them, babies just start automatically. And for those people that are listening right now, what kind of progress are you making in your life? What kind of progress are you making in your relationships? What kind of willingness do you have to grow outside your comfort zone? Are you willing to share this podcast and help other people grow? All right. Now, I know 10 years old wasn't easy for you, Nisan, because you've already talked to me about it. But what's the attitude lesson from Nisan at 10 years old?
So at 10 years old, especially given what I seen in Alabama, from racism to not being very well off financially, my family growing up in the single bedroom of my grandmother's house. So when my back was up against the wall, I remember when my brother and I, we would just sit down outside of the porch and we would see cars go by, and it always represented movement to us. But we also imagined us being in a better place. We would go back and forth and talk about us doing XYZ, us doing this, us doing that. And so the key word for me at 10, I didn't realize it at the time, probably couldn't give you even a definition of it, was vision.
Nice.
And being able to have a vision with your heart, even if your eyes aren't telling you what you feel in your heart.
I love it. Willy Wonka, if you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it, right? Awesome quote from that. But boy, to have a vision at 10 years old, right? To see yourself as more than you are or more than you were, or to see yourself within what should happen for you. I hope that everybody takes that, and I hope that everybody works on their vision. I hope everybody thinks of little Nisan and his brother sitting down in southern Alabama,
That's right,
watching people drive, and say, if that guy can do it, if he can be on the Get Attitude podcast, if he can write a book, if he can start his own Trot Fitness, if he can be a keynote speaker, damn it, so can I. And it probably all started back from when you were 10 years old. That's cool. So now you're the big boss. Now you're walking around Penn. What are you, a safety or cornerback?
So it's not Penn, but Bucknell. We did play Penn though. We should have beat them too. But
I coached football for 25 years, just so you know.
Oh, really? That's cool.
I played at Ball State University.
Oh, much respect.
Yeah.
That's a good school too.
What?
So go ahead. What was your question?
What position were you? Were you defense or offense?
I was offense, wide receiver.
Oh, did you score some touchdowns?
I did, thankfully, yeah.
What was your longest touchdown?
I think I might have caught a 76-yarder. Took it to the house. I'm losing it now. It's been 15 years ago, but
were you a return guy?
I was a return guy. I never took one to the house though. I wish.
And you were number 4, I'm guessing.
Number 4. Oh, I forgot all about the jersey.
So you're 20. You got it looks like it's blue and orange, a dark blue. Yeah. You probably look good. You had the swag, you had the gear, you were 20.
Absolutely.
You were up north and things were good for you.
Yeah.
What was your attitude lesson at 20?
At 20, I felt like the big man on campus. This is around now my sophomore going into junior year. I was feeling myself a little bit, making a name for myself on the team, making plays on the football field. I felt invisible. And this, I can do anything I put my mind to type of attitude. Also, the willingness to make adjustments. I was again very confident. It seems like the younger generation, like we got the Zers now, full of energy. So for me, I think the key word is energy and the willingness also to be able to make adjustments. Because keep in mind, I'm from the South. I'm now up north, making multiple plane trips, just getting accustomed to my new environment. And what I specifically recall is feeling, I can do this. I can really do this now. I'm in foreign territory. Because here's the thought that we had, Glenn. We thought that if you step out of this plane up north, this is what my uncles told me. It's so cold up here because I had never been up north before. It's so cold that when you step out of the plane, it's like Cool Runnings, the Jamaican bobsled team. And if you're not wrapped up, you breathe in that cold air up there, boy, you can die.
They tell you your skin's going to crack?
Yeah, they told me some of everything. But when I survived that and got rid of that thought, I had the energy to make the adjustment. That's where I was in my 20s.
That's cool. That's cool. And so how many of us are, as gappers, are walking into a new life? How many of us are walking into a new time in their life? It may be a financial reversal, a marriage reversal, a personal reversal. Think about Nisan and being a young black man coming from Southern Alabama up to on a plane to Penn. He did it, and you can do it too. He bridged the gap at age 20 by his adjustments. Okay, well, this is going to be the last one because you ain't 40.
Nope.
But are you well into your 30s?
Yes, well, I'm 37, so I don't know. I got 3 more years.
Okay. So if you remember being 30, tell me what the attitude lesson was when you turned 30.
The attitude lesson was take the risk. No question about it. Because on Leap Day of 2012, February 29th, I took a leap of faith and I jumped into fitness full time.
Right.
And this was a period in my life where it was sink or swim. I took a calculated move because at the time, especially even though we were doing outdoor boot camps, my part-time check was equivalent to my full-time check working for my alma mater, Bucknell University. So I still, though, had to believe in myself and take a risk. And the bigger the risk, they say the bigger the reward. And boy, I'm so grateful that I did. We haven't looked back since, and it's now going on 10 years.
That's good. Well, I am so grateful that you spent time with us today. If you feel what Nisan is given, I hope that you like this podcast. I hope that you share this podcast. I think he's given us all something to look forward to. He's given us all a platform to reach our goals when it comes to eating right, and exercise, and positive fitness, but not only physical fitness, but positive mental fitness. It was great getting to meet your grandmother through her stories. It was great honoring and hearing that at age 30, you said, I'm going to have faith. I'm going to go. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And everybody who's listening to this, I want you to check Nisan out on his website. I want you to watch his videos. He's somewhat subdued today because when he gets on stage, he's like me. He's got it. He's got the passion. So if you feel like you need more than the Get Attitude podcast today, if you watch Nisan, awesome job. Thank you so much for all the gifts that you've given us over the past 50 minutes.
I'm incredibly honored, and thank you so much for giving me some time and some space for your platform. Keep doing what you're doing, Glenn. You're a natural with this stuff.
All right, man. God bless you. Thank you, my friend. We'll see you. All right, this is Glenn Bill for the Get Attitude podcast, and we will see you on the next upcoming podcast talking about booster number 9, Eat Right and Exercise.